If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 257 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land. Finally back with you here on Sunday, June 29th. Of the year 2025 with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you. Thank you very much, although I'm not sure I deserve it. Oh my gosh, my friends, it is the last episode of June, which was kind of supposed to be last week, and that leads me to the fact that I got some splaining to do. So I know that a lot of you were expecting an episode last Sunday. And that's exactly when I said I was going to do one. So why wouldn't you come back expecting one? And usually, I have always been a man of my word with that. Until I let a post go on social media. So if you do not follow me on social media, this is why I always emphasize the importance of doing so. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. Especially follow me there. That's where I'm most active and up to the minute with updates. And my Instagram, Mike Scuds97. Because if you don't follow me on there, you're not going to get up to the moment updates anywhere else. So if you don't follow me on there, you probably came to the YouTube channel or on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify wondering where the hell is my Yapping Yankees episode last Sunday. Well, since I am finally back with one here today, if you are one of those people who do not follow me on social media, very irresponsibly might I add, then the explanation is that, well, last weekend was wild. I had some big personal news appear completely out of the blue, which I will share with you in 1 second. But that was why, and I did let it go on social media last weekend, I just did not do an episode. A lot was going on, lots of discussions were being had as a result of this big news, and the show just kind of got swallowed up by it last weekend, and I vowed I would definitely be back with one this weekend, even though said news is also crunching me for a bit of time these days, but I could not go another weekend leaving you hanging. So here is the episode I promised you last weekend, but now I'm giving it to you here.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Hey, new sound effect to the repertoire. I know. I do stink. I know. Not a single lie has been detected. This year, again, I said it on the last episode when I did my first debut episode back from Japan, and I'll say it again here. You have all been saints being patient with me in 2025. This has by far, it is not even remotely close, this is by far the most inconsistent Yapping Yankees has been for any of the 6 years that I've been doing it. The 6 years and approaching 300 freaking episodes now. This is by far, it's not even remotely close or remotely a discussion otherwise, the most inconsistent Yapping Yankees has been in any other season. Now, I manage whenever I do get an episode out to fully catch up on everything and really flesh out everything I want to say, so I'm happy about that, but the inconsistency has never been like this before. Usually in every single other prior season, I get an episode out basically every single week except for major holidays or if something came up, which was not common at all. It was basically every single week, and even during the off-season, I would consistently stick to my bi-weekly format, and that's kind of what I had to adopt this year on the whole, even during the season. Except it hasn't even been that. It's just been all over the place. I mean, I went to Japan and took my test and had all those parties I had going on around those times leading up to Japan trip. So I just had no time for anything for the month of May. Then I did an episode coming back. And then I just went another 3 weeks up to today. So especially, it was okay. before Japan, but then leading into the month of May, ever since May pretty much, this show has been so inconsistent. And even my listenership has decreased, and rightfully so, a little bit in the last couple of episodes because of how inconsistent it's been. That's how content works. I understand that. Not holding that against you guys at all, but a lot of you have also really stayed with me, which I also infinitely appreciate. I do not blame those at all who might have jumped ship. I have not been a good show host this season. I have not been. I stayed on top of everything whenever I do get an episode out, but otherwise it has been so inconsistent. But finally getting to what it was that sidetracked me last weekend. So, turns out a week and a half ago, out of absolutely nowhere, really, my girlfriend and I got this awesome opportunity to go check out an apartment. Now, I've said, I have no trouble revealing this, I live on Long Island. And I'm not going to say where, but I live on Long Island. Now, you can try to figure out wherever the hell that is, because Long Island is a big place, so good luck. But live on Long Island, and we found a place more towards the eastern part. Not too far from where I live, but, you know, it's not nearly in the same neighborhood, for sure. So we found this place. We loved it. First try. We loved it. And especially considering how living conditions are in New York right now, financially and otherwise, we took it. We accepted it. And considering this is the first time I'm ever leaving my house, and this is a humongous life change for me and my girlfriend, obviously, and lots of positives, and not, I wouldn't say negatives, but the negatives being like, oh, you're leaving home for the first time. There's some sad feelings that go along with that, obviously. But so excited for this next chapter. I never expected it this soon. Definitely thought it was going to be at least a couple more months until we at least even started looking. The plans were in the back of our minds at some point. But this place came around, we felt a deep connection to it, and it felt like something we just couldn't and shouldn't pass up. So we took it, signed off on it in the middle of this past week, and because of that, this all really transpired during last weekend all throughout, and it's just gone on this entire week, and it's continuing this weekend, and all the way up until we move in basically next Sunday night into early next week. So things are moving quickly, and because of all this, guys, last weekend just became a complete impossibility for an episode. So I hope you understand. It's just a matter of this year. There is a lot going on. Me taking my test, everything that's gone on in my personal life with parties, gatherings, whatnot, Japan, this now that came out of nowhere, a huge life change like this. So I hope you understand. I don't mean to use them as excuses, but I mean, they kind of are. And I think they are somewhat valid. So I guess I'll use them in that light to a degree. But the point is, a lot has been moving and shaking. I'm just trying to get by the best that I can and trying to pop out an episode when I can. That's kind of just been how 2025 has been. This is the hand that life has dealt me. So, again, I hope you understand. But this is the deal. I hope you're happy for me. Hope you do understand. This is going to continue to be pretty crazy. And because of this, especially because of what's going to be going on majorly moving next weekend, there is basically like a 0% chance of an episode being next weekend. So at the very least, I would say the next episode probably won't be until July 13th, if I had to say. It's either going to be the 13th or the 20th, and I'll keep you posted, but definitely not next weekend. That's all I know. So that much I can guarantee you, because next Sunday is going to be a big day. It's going to be my first night, basically, in the new place, in the apartment that my girlfriend and I got. And just going to be getting ready for the new week and getting anything else over from my house to there and doing any little things I got to get done. If you've moved before, then you understand, so hopefully you do. So that's the deal. That's the big news. Hope you're happy for me. Hope you understand why that is. This and everything else has sidelined me so much this year. So Yapping Yankees has definitely had to go through some inconsistency and pains in 2025. But if you ask me, so much of it has been for good reasons. For reasons to celebrate and things to cherish and remember forever. New chapters in life and new things to do and everything like that. So that's the cool part about it. And I will be bringing my computer that I use to record over there. It is a 2-bedroom place, so that's super cool. I'll probably have this in the spare bedroom. Probably. So right when this is set up, I'll have to set up my desk again and make it all comfy and everything and make it all set up. And again, that's why it probably also won't be that way anyway until the weekend after next at the very least, because finishing off the big parts of my move next weekend, really. So my computer and desk are probably not going to be set up. So these are just things I'm going to have to work through, and as I continue to, I'll have more updates. Things will become more clear as the next couple of weeks transpire in real time. So that's really the deal. That's the latest with that, and that's what I'm going to have going on over the next few weeks. So exciting stuff. And the most exciting thing about it, aside from getting to live with my girlfriend, of course, is I've mentioned this on the show a few times, and I've definitely mentioned this on social media, but even if I hadn't, or I haven't, you just didn't see it or didn't know about it, I will let you know right now that I have been driving 5 days a week, or 4 or 3, depending on if there's a holiday, you get it. I've been driving every school or work day for the better part of the last 10 or 11 years, at least 30 miles in one direction. Not the whole trip, one direction. At least 30 miles. Every day. For probably the better part of the last 10 to 11 years.
Holy crap!
Damn straight holy crap, Frank Barone. It started with me going to college for 4 years, and that was at least like a 25 to 30 mile, closer to 30 mile drive. And then after that, after those 4 years were done, spent about another 4 or 5 years driving out to the radio station I used to work at that I was an engineer producer for the better part of maybe 3 years, and then the manager for a year and a half or two that I left before making the leap into finance. And then for the last 2 years while I've been in finance, I drove even further. The radio station drive was 35 miles, and now this drive to my finance job at the office I work at is 40 miles. So it's only gotten worse over the years, all collectively leading up to all of these driving miles in the better part of the last 10 to 11 years. It is absolutely wild what I've actually stuck with and dealt with every single day. And if you live on Long Island or just about anywhere in the New York area, you know what traffic is like here. Even if you don't live here, you've probably heard what it's like, and it is all true. So I can tell you, the patience that I have exercised, despite being at least a partially impatient person, and what I've put up with for as long as I have, even I got to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back here. So that is a major aspect of this. My work commute is about to be cut by about 75%. I'm going to be, for the first time since my first job at a supermarket locally here in my neighborhood right now, which is over 10 years ago, I got hired there. Right towards the end of my time in high school. This is the first time since then that I'm going to be within 10 miles or just generally local of a job. It is a pipe dream for me. It still does not feel real. It will not feel real until I do that first drive next week, and I am just all tingly about it, I gotta be honest. So this is a remarkable opportunity for that as well, if nothing else. There are plenty of other positives to go along with it, of course, but the work thing, especially when you've gone through what I've had to go through with this sort of a thing, holy God in heaven. Wow. That's all I gotta say. I am so looking forward to that, being local to a job. That was a big motivation behind it, so you best believe I am amped about that crap. My God. So that's the news, guys. More big news in 2025. It has been crazy. This has sort of led to like more uncertainty for Yapping Yankees. Like a lot has happened, so maybe it'll like die down like for the rest of the year in 2026. I don't know. But if it stays as inconsistent as this, I'm just going to be honest with you. Full honesty on the show always, you know that. Whether it be my baseball opinions, personal opinions, on life, regardless. I've always given you absolute 100 here. Straight shooter. But if it stays like this hectic and it's this challenging to pop episodes out, especially at the time lengths that I do, which I'm really going to try to shorten the episodes, guys. Like the last episode was so ridiculously long. Even I realized like, oh, okay, I got to trim a little bit. So got to cut myself back a little bit. But if it stays like this crazy and this inconsistent, I'm going to have to figure something out. Whether I make this show into like a live streaming sort of a thing or like a social media thing, if I go live on YouTube, or I find a way to go live across multiple platforms and have like a live chat like some people do and they stream. Like I might have to figure something out. I don't know. Because I don't want to do this to you guys, like where it's so inconsistent, you never know what's going on, and I always have to have long-ass episodes after multiple weeks off to catch up. Like, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be like what it's been like for all 6 years even prior to this. I've done so many episodes of this thing, and I don't want it to be the way it's been for the vast majority of the time going forward. I want it to be basically every single week during the season like it always was before this. Since 2019 all the way up to this season. I want it to be strictly bi-weekly during the off-season and pop it out every 2 weeks if I could. Like, I want it to be the way it was. I don't want it to be so sporadic, so all over the place, so disorderly and disorganized. I've always been a model of consistency before this year. That's the person I am. I like consistency, and it's vital for content creation too. My fellow content creators out there know that. It's vital. It's very important. So I'll continue to see how life goes here and what it continues to throw at me and how I have to field it. Pun intended, I guess. Thank you. But I'm gonna have to analyze in real time here as the weeks continue on. And I got some other big things planned for the rest of this year, things I cannot reveal publicly yet going on in the next few months. So we'll see. I will keep you guys posted, I promise. But again, I just wanted to, on top of this big news, and I'm very happy to share it with you like I always am with my personal news on this show. Very happy to share it with all of you guys. But I also just wanted to apologize for continuing to be so inconsistent this year. It's been a slog trying to pop Yapping Yankees episodes out in 2025. I've had so much going on. I know I've kept you posted along the way. I'll continue to try to do that as best as I can. But I feel bad. I've kind of had you guys all over the place. And I know there were a couple of people last week that were pretty disappointed, whether it was jokingly or not, lighthearted or not, but that I was, when I put my post out there, like, oh my God, come on. Like, at least a little part of them probably. And I apologize for that. I'm sorry. I've almost just never been this busy, but this is a part of growing up too, guys. Like, I'm going to be 29 in a few months. Like, this is a big part of my life, general age group wise, where typically for the average person there are a lot of changes that go on that just really throw things that you're usually consistent with off kilter a little bit. I'm just trying to keep rolling with the punches here. That's all I'm doing. So I'll try to keep doing that, and I'll keep you posted along the way. Can we agree on that?
Screw you.
Hey, that's not nice, Johnny Lawrence. The hell's that about? I was just asking if I could agree with this with my fans, with my listeners. Can we? Oh my God, now Vader's emotional. Look what you did, Johnny. Just trying to see if we could have an agreement on this.
Give me a hell yeah.
All right, now you see, I knew I could reach an agreement with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Always coming in the clutch with those hell yeahs. Thank you, Steve. So that's the deal, guys. All jokes aside. So, that's that. A lot of stuff going on. I'll keep you posted. Speaking of lots of stuff going on, why don't we just dive right in here? What an interesting last 3 weeks with the Yankees. Oh my God. I was prepared last week to just rip them apart, just saying I don't understand. It was just the overall mindset of the Yankees and how like they just baffle us so much sometimes, how they could look so terrific one day. And then the very next day look like they've quite literally never held a baseball bat in their lives. It's just jarring sometimes. Baffling. There's no way of understanding it. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they had that stretch where they went 30 1/3 innings without scoring a run. And they went 51 innings without having a lead. From Kansas City until over a week later. Like, Jesus. And then throughout all of that, still having nearly daily base running blunders, which has been a thing on this team for years, as we know. It's been a little bit better lately, I guess. There have been multiple things that are a little better lately. There are finally some signs of life again. And that's why I've named this episode title that, because Yankees showing signs of life again, and now Yapping Yankees is after being back again after another 3-week hiatus because my life is just so crazy this year. So, yeah, pretty appropriate episode title, wouldn't you say? So, after breaking the fourth wall, back to the Yankees. So, it's just so wild. It's whiplash. I've said so often the last couple of years that the Yankees have these tendencies and these periods of time that they go through where they'll just give you such whiplash that we can't believe our heads just don't pop right off from between our shoulders. I mean, they did so well while I was in Japan, and even for a while after I came home, like when I did the last episode, there's certain things to critique. There always are. You could always nitpick at anything, really. But things were mostly going good. But then after the last time we spoke, things just got weird. The offense died. The bullpen choking almost routinely. The starting rotation started to experience more pains. Like Rodon, finally coming back down to earth from that remarkable run that he had. Yarbrough hitting the IL somewhat recently, on top of all the other injuries they already have in the rotation. So the starting rotation started to feel it a little bit. And then now, you have your days where you start to see them winning a couple of series again, finally, in this last week or so. It's about time. Just series loss after series loss after series loss. I mean, they even lost a series against the Reds earlier this past week. So they've still been losing series recently they shouldn't be losing. But at least they've won a couple of them in the last week or so. Again, showing some signs of life again. That's the gist of it. But my God, that week and a half stretch or so, 2 weeks, like the 30 1/3 no runs and 51 innings not having a lead, that's some of the worst Yankee baseball I think I had ever seen played in the very close to 20 years I'm watching them. That's even including when the teams really had little to nobody on them back in 2013, 14, 16, even though the second half of 16 was a lot of young developing stars, the baby bombers and whatnot, but you get the point. Even with teams that had much less talent on them, even they weren't as bad as that stretch that we just saw the Yankees have a couple of weeks ago. My God. Not one aspect of the team was working. Not one. Crazy. And there are a lot of factors in that, particularly with offense, and we'll get into our player analysis that we've done a lot recently. When it comes to the rest of the show, by the way, before I go any further, yesterday, this weekend, since it's still been crazy, obviously even had a lot of plans this weekend, I did not get an opportunity, and it does stink because I had one planned for last weekend, but it wasn't relevant for this weekend anymore. But I do not have a social media segment today, so I will come back with one the next episode. Again, last weekend I had one all lined up, and I even asked it, and I just had to put a kibosh on it because I couldn't come out with an episode. So, goes back to that drop earlier. This guy stinks. Yeah, I do stink. I'm sorry. I absolutely suck as a person, I know. But I could not come up with one in time before today's episode, so there is none. But we still have plenty to get to today. And we will still get to player analysis like we always do towards the start of each episode. And I'll go through everybody on offense, pitching. We'll still go through every aspect of this team and really dissect what's been going on, especially more recently. And we'll just go through the whole damn thing. But there were a couple of factors, like I just finished saying before I said all that have contributed to the Yankees slowing down a bit. And I can't really blame them because out of control they were playing and corrections were due, especially for these guys. But, it doesn't help that you had the big catalysts of the team, like Aaron Judge, who had himself a hell of a game today. He has really come back down to earth hard these last couple of weeks or so. Paul Goldschmidt has really come down to earth hard the last few weeks, actually. That was one thing I was starting to mention on the last episode, I think even 3 weeks ago, that he started to show signs of slowing down, and he has continued to do so. Even just a day or two ago, he broke an 0 for 20, I think he had at one point. He's slowed down a lot. I'm willing to be patient with that because we all know that Paul was hitting completely out of his mind for the better part of the first 2.5, give or take, months, which is ridiculous, especially for a guy his age. It was very, very easy to forget that he is 37 years old. So he was way out of his mind, and a correction surely was due. So I am not surprised or annoyed, really, that it is here. It's not even a matter of an opinion. It's just fact. It was going to happen. And the same thing with Judge. He's the other one. Now, Judge and Goldschmidt, I think it's safe to say, throughout the first 2, almost 3 months of the season when the Yankees were doing pretty good, at the very least pretty good, they were huge catalysts of that. There were times even when the team would be struggling for the most part, but they'd still be winning games, mainly because of guys like Judge and Goldschmidt. Judge especially, through the first week or so of June, which it has been a very long time since we saw somebody do it to this degree, especially with the home runs he had and everything else, he had a 400 average clean. And he almost reclaimed it. He was still floating around the high 390s, 398, 399, in the middle part of June. Just a couple of weeks ago still. That is going to... You want to talk about a correction happening? That's going to have a correction. That is a foregone conclusion. And there has been a correction. I'm not surprised. I'm not annoyed. It was going to happen, especially after everything that Judge has accomplished. I cannot be annoyed. And hell, today he just started to show signs of finally waking up. Multi-homer game. Just passed Lou Gehrig for most multi-home run games in Yankee history. Only Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth lie ahead of him now, and Mickey Mantle's only a couple of numbers away from that, so he'll pass him surely at some point. And then Babe Ruth is like freaking 68 or something. Judge is like in the mid-40s. We'll put the brakes on that for a second with Babe Ruth. But point is, corrections were due for some of the main Yankee catalysts. So they've been happening, and when the Yankees have been going through rough times while it's been happening, especially in times where everybody else went cold, there's been some really ugly Yankees baseball played. Even when they've been a little bit better at times this past week, especially this weekend, you still see times where it's ugly. I mean, just yesterday, losing 7-0 to the A's, nothing going on, pitching sort of falling apart a bit. I mean, you still see examples of it from one day to the next at times. Last 3 weeks, you've seen your rough times with the Yankees. I mean, look at the division lead. I know some people don't pay attention to it, especially till after the All-Star break, for instance. But look at the division lead, how that dissipated out of nowhere. They were like 6.5 games, 7 games up on the Blue Jays, the Rays, and they let the Red Sox back in the dance by letting them crap all over them in Yankee Stadium, at Fenway Park. And now the Yankees are only a game and a half over Tampa. Coming into today, they were a half a game. Fortunately, the Yankees managed to win the series against the A's today, 2 out of 3, by winning 12-5. Best they've looked in a while. And the Rays happened to lose to the Orioles again today, fortunately, so that got them to a game and a half. But at one point, not too long ago, as I just said, they were like 7 games up in first place. It was comfy. And yeah, it's a long season. That could always happen, but it happened quick in this case. Both New York teams did it. Look at the Mets, how they're in friggin' free fall. They just got their asses handed to them by Pittsburgh, who stink. They had a 6-7 game lead up on the Phillies just a couple of weeks ago. Now the Phillies are in first. Both New York teams blowing big division leads. Granted, it's still, it's about exactly the halfway point. I think the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken, are 83 games in now. So just a couple of days ago, they hit the exact halfway point of the season games-wise. But, yeah, let me see, 78. Yeah, 83 after today's win against the A's. So they're slightly, couple of games, 2 games past the halfway point. So still a lot of season left to go, but you would have thought it would have taken a little longer to blow leads like that. So it's just it's not a compliment, but it's an indication of how brutal it has been. Overall, New York baseball, but the Yankees have been a bit better. The Mets are literally free-falling. But anyways, yeah, it's been hairy at times with the Yankees. You want to go up and down the lineup, we can chat a bit. First off, you got Trent. We'll just do today's lineup, and then anybody on the bench will account for them as well. But Trent has been, you want to talk about somebody who came back down to earth as well, after the start he had the first couple of months. I mean, just out of his mind. But he's had his good moments again in the last couple of weeks. He's 7 for his last 30. It's not brutal, and he still gets a hold of some. Has a couple of home runs in the last couple of weeks, and takes his walks. Still has a good, handle of the strike zone. He has struck out quite a bit. Like in the last 30 at-bats, he has 12 strikeouts, striking out almost half the time. That's quite a bit in the last week or so. But he's not brutal. I think at times he could afford to be taken out of that leadoff spot at times, but he gets on base pretty decently. I mean, in the last week, his on-base percentage, in the last 2 weeks, they're both floating around 350. It's not bad. He gets on base. But definitely not what he was to start the season, of course, because that start to the season, as much as I love Trent, and we always say how in my household we just adore the guy, admittedly so, the way he started is not the way he always is as a player, and the correction was going to happen with him. It did. But still, even with the correction, especially if he keeps up even a portion of the pace that he has through the first half, he's still going to end up with one of the better seasons he's ever had. So that's pretty cool. And you factor in the defense on top of that. So just keep on doing your thing, Trent. That's my advice. I mean, an average that floats around 245 to 250, I'll take that from him. If he hits over 20 home runs, I'll take that from him for sure. Drives in 60 to 70 RBIs, I'll take that. And his OPS is over 800 still. So these are all numbers I take from Trent. I am cool with it. On base percentage for the season still around 350. Slugging over 450. I'm cool with that, man. Keep on shredding that. I am cool. And speaking of things I'm very cool with, Cody Bellinger's production. I am so happy because with the way he started it, I never fully gave up on him, but he was making me sweat a little bit, and he was annoying the crap out of me some days. But the last bunch of weeks, Cody has really just... he's been terrific. Last bunch of weeks now. I mean, even if you want to go back the last month, he's batting 288, 341 on base, 458 slug. Last couple of weeks, batting 306. Last 15 games, 19 for 62. Couple of homers. Elevated slugging, 500. And then in the last week, he went deep today. Strikeouts being kept to a minimum, only 3 strikeouts and 30 at-bats. That's really good. So he's putting bat to ball. Getting his hits, 367 average in the last 7 games in the last week or so. On-base percentage of almost 400. Slugging of almost 600. And overall in the season now, if you want to look at his overall numbers, really good too. Definitely made up for that slower start. 270 average now, which is great. For him, that's great. I take that every time. That's fine. 11 homers. I imagine he'll probably finish with anywhere from 20 to 25. Definitely not the outrageous 40-plus that I predicted, but I could still live with 20, 25. That's fine. And if he's going to bat in around 80 RBIs, OPS is floating around 800 himself, so this is what I'm talking about. A lot of the Yankees in this lineup, they reach base decently. A lot of times throughout the season, they had a top offense. They still do in many regards, despite their extreme struggles in the past, at times throughout the past 3 weeks collectively. But, they still go out there and show that they can really be a threatening offense at times. And other times they have you ripping your hair out of your skull. But, then other days like today, they're like, oh my God, this team could do anything they want if they want. It's just a lot of the time they get in their own friggin' way and it makes you mental. That's the Yankee way. So Bellinger, very pleased with him, man. If he continues on this track, I got no complaints. Can still play anywhere in the field, and well at that. I'm cool with it. Judge, now this is the complicated one, because as we know in the last bunch of weeks, 2-3 weeks or so, he has really come down to earth. June did not treat him too well on the whole, even though today he was really, really good today. A couple of home runs, and he's had 3 in the last 7 games. So the home runs have been there, but the strikeouts especially. In this slump, his strikeouts have spiked. A little bit more chasing out of the zone as well. But, I mean, the strikeouts were pretty definitively there. I mean, in the last 30 games, in his last 108 at-bats, 44 strikeouts, almost half the time in that amount of at-bats. So the strikeouts are there. But the home runs still are decently, too. I mean, today he reached 30. Should be 31. I'm going to say that for the rest of the year, guys. You know that. I said that, and I'm a man of my word. I stick to what I say. And when I say I'm going to say that for the rest of the year, constantly remind of that, I am. Especially when he's got somebody in Cal Raleigh really competing with him for that top home run spot in the American League. And more power to Cal. He's having a hell of a year. Probably going to have one of the better catcher years in the history of the game. And I tip my cap to him. But as long as there's a home run sort of race going on here when Judge is chasing after the Triple Crown, as long as he could keep that average above Jacob Wilson's and whatnot, and he can hang tight with Raleigh with the RBIs and home runs, then the Triple Crown's a possibility. You best believe that when there's a home run stripped of him, I'm going to keep reminding people of it, especially if it comes into play and actually makes a difference later in the year, which I said since the moment it happened, Easter weekend, that was my worst nightmare. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it comes true. That's how life goes. But in any event, aside from those distracting points, I was very happy to see Judge go deep a couple of times today. Definitely a day today that he needed. Because, again, he has looked rough. And, once again, not even being hard on the guy. Because just how crazy he was, even a guy of his caliber, a player of his caliber, is going to hit that correction. It's going to happen. You're not sustaining a 400 batting average in today's game especially. You're not even doing it in the last nearly 85 years because that's the last time it happened with Ted Williams back in 1940-1. So a correction's going to hit. And it has hit for Judge. My opinion, it's fine. He'll work through it. He'll be okay. And if today is a sign of him waking up, then strap yourself in because there's another hot streak up ahead, and the rest of the league needs to duck and cover every time that happens. So, Just be patient. We'll see what comes of this next week now that Judge had a game the way he did today for the first time in a while. But I will say this. In the last few weeks, and this has definitely been another talking point throughout baseball, started by Andrew McCutchen saying something like this, and just some observations in the Yankee community as well. There was a game, oh my God, like 2-3 weeks ago. I got to get the scoreboards up, otherwise I'm not going to remember who it was against. It was at home. I think it was the Angels games. Yeah, it definitely was against the Angels. Those balls that were not getting out, like those Cody Bellinger fly balls, like those, my guy, you can't tell me those were not home runs. Like they were home runs in years past. I know that those nights it was like unusually chilly, especially for June because New York weather blows and is even more inconsistent than Yapping Yankees in 2025. Self-deprecation, guys. What can I tell you? But even so inconsistent with that. So obviously when it's colder out, the ball doesn't carry the same. I'm well aware of that. But even aside from that, even when it's been warmer at times in the last couple of weeks, just some balls hit by Cody those nights, again, that particular night against the Angels. And Judge even seemed to get a hold of a few these past couple of weeks that just didn't get out that I could have sworn off the bat were gone. And I know I wasn't alone. So many other people in the community said so. And then Andrew McCutchen comes out with this quote saying that he thinks that Major League Baseball's, they're deadening the baseballs this year. And they're screwing with the seams that make them have more topspin and die sooner before they really reach where they're supposed to go. So there's a lot of whispers about that. And if that's really true, then that definitely could have had an effect on Judge's home run total too. I'm not looking to make excuses for the best player in the world, pretty much. I mean, as long as Ohtani's pitching again and doing well, he's the best player in the world, admittedly, as long as he's pitching. But otherwise, purely hitting, Judge is the best in the world. So that's what I mean. But I'm not looking to make excuses for him. But if you know the games I'm talking about, both with Judge and those Bellinger fly balls, especially that one that should have won the game for the Yankees in that Angels game with the Bellinger fly ball late in the game, those were home runs. I don't know if it was the air or if it was the balls. Guys, like off the bat, I've been watching baseball for quite some time now. Those were home runs off the bat. Like, I don't know how else to say it. But regardless, so there's crap going on about that too, and people have been talking about that for days and days and days and days now about the suspicions of them deadening the baseballs and messing with the seams on the ball now, creating more topspin and killing them when they make it when they're in the air for a while. I don't know. But regardless, whether or not Judge deserves to have more home runs than he currently has, he has now hit 30 before the month of July rolled around. And that's epic. 67 home runs. OPS and every single other stat under the sun, as I'm sure you can imagine, still absolutely through the roof. Regardless of his struggles, that's the way it is, and that's just how out of his mind he was playing. So there's that. Ben Rice, he's doing fine. Definitely showing his flash of power still. I mean, his flashes of power, I should say. A couple of home runs in the last week or so, and the batting average still isn't quite there, but honestly, when you have as many other stats to tell a story like they do for Rice, it's a perfect example in this case of when I don't really live and die by batting average. I still acknowledge it, unlike a lot of other younger people typically. But with things like this, I tend to value it less. Ben Rice is a perfect example. Like a 233 average, you see that, and if you care about average, you're like, ugh. But then you look and you realize it's June 29th, and this kid at age 26 has 14 home runs. So in his first really full year in the league, he may very well hit around or at 30 home runs, which is very impressive. He's probably going to bat in 60 to 70 RBIs, give or take. We'll have to wait and see about that. His OPS is over 800. And even if you want to look at any of his other stats, like his on-base percentage, around 330, it's not too bad. Slugging is almost 500. There are other stats here to show that Ben Rice is having himself a nice year, despite the 233 average. This is a perfect example of looking beyond batting average. I am a supporter of batting average, using it as a point to an argument, but certainly not the live or die, especially in the case of someone like Ben Rice here. Very important to look deeper when it comes to a player like him and not only look at batting average. I mean, even if you want to look at his OPS plus, I know some people look at WRC plus, OPS plus. Usually the two are hugging each other most of the time, but just by a couple of digits. OPS plus 124. That's really good. And he's given you the opportunity to play in multiple different positions. He could DH, he's playing first base, he's caught plenty of times. I think he caught today. Used to be a catcher a lot of the time in the minor leagues. So for those who didn't know that, there you go. You've seen him get some catching looks this year, particularly because of Baldy's log jams that I've always crapped on, rightfully so, and still do. Like you're always getting someone having a night off. It's not necessarily a bad problem to have, having a lot of options, but if someone's hot, and the Yankees have definitely proven they don't believe in hot streaks, they could rest a guy after they've been friggin' like 10 for their last 23. They'll sit them without giving a single crap about it. They've done that many, many times, including Stanton when he finally got off the injured list, 4 for his first 8. And I know many people will say, oh, he just got back from injury, matchups, blah, blah, blah. They don't believe in hot. They don't. I mean, all it takes is a pair of eyeballs to see that. They don't believe in hot streaks. They don't care. If they have a schedule, they are sticking to that schedule. They have little to no flexibility. And when they do, it's usually in times that shouldn't call for it, but they usually don't. They're going to sit somebody. They're sitting them no matter what happens. The Yankees don't make adjustments in real time 98% of the time. And that could create for some really annoying scenarios when you have a logjam like they do because Brian Cashman doesn't know how to properly construct a roster. So now, because you have so many outfielders and you have so many people that can play so many different positions and you can't really send someone down when they're doing as well as they've done, so it's really put them in a bit of a crunch to where every single day, one of Trent Grisham, Cody Bellinger, usually not him, Bellinger plays most of the time, but Trent, Bellinger, even Goldschmidt, now that Rice and him share first base sometimes, and depending on matchups too, Rice and Goldschmidt, Jason, Stanton, one or two of all of these names I've mentioned, they're getting a day off every single day. Someone is sitting. And I know for a fact, because we've heard a lot of players say it, it's not hearsay. A lot of them like consistency. And because of the roster imbalance and the log jam and everything, and a lot of guys doing what they're supposed to do and making them have easy decisions, that's the aspect of it where it's a good problem to have. You get a lot of guys experiencing inconsistency. And that's the part of it that might hurt the Yankees depending on the day. So, rocking a hard place. And Ben Rice is a part of that, but he's still going out there and doing his thing. Whether he has to catch, whether he has to play first, whether he's DHing, if Stanton's not playing on a given day. So, despite all of that, you look beyond the average, Ben Rice is doing well. That's the point of the matter. Right here in the lineup, I saw that he pinch hit today. I didn't see this part of the game. I must have been away from the TV at that time. But J.C. Escara, he was on paternity leave. So congrats to him and his family on the birth of their new child. But he pinch hit today for Ben Rice later in the game. And Escara, the quality hits are really there over the quantity. But even so, I mean, when he gets a hold of one, I mean, he definitely has some power. I mean, the pop is there. And I like him. I think he calls a great game. I've said this about him already on past episodes. I think Escara calls a really nice game. And when he gets to the plate, there's actually a chance he might do something and gets a hold of one. He's not bad. Again, I've said in past episodes, too, I wish he'd get another look or two throughout the week because I really do enjoy watching him catch, and I enjoy watching him at the plate. He gets a hold of one. He gets a hold of it, man. I think he's a cool player and looks like a super cool, down-to-earth guy. I don't know him personally, so I don't know that for a fact. But, I don't know. I mean, it proves that he's the everyday guy. I mean, before this, he was an Uber driver and a substitute teacher, right? So, really cool. Always cool seeing guys like that get opportunities and excel. On big teams like the Yankees, too. That makes it even cooler, right? Then you have Jazz Chisholm. Now, Jazz is so interesting. I'll explain why. The last episode that I was with you, I don't even really remember, to be honest. 3 weeks ago, so much has happened since then. It's a whirlwind. But I think he had just gotten back from injury. And he was kicking ass at the time. And you want to know something? Since then, he has continued to kick ass. The interesting part is that before the injury, as we know, for the better part of the first month and a half or so of the season, he was awful. Awful. Batting 160. Flashes of power every now and again, but especially you took away opening weekend when he went crazy against the Brewers. You take away that weekend and do pre-injury numbers, I mean, Jazz was a living nightmare. Nightmare. Even doing stupid things out in the field. At second base, which is what he always played prior in his career with Miami. I mean, everyone was like, my God, I guess Jazz's postseason gameplay is just carrying over. It was awful. He got hurt, missed a lot of time, came back. Ever since then, guys, I mean, since he got back from injury, they talked about it on the postgame even today because it's such a huge talking point, and it should be. Since his injury, he's played 23 games. He's batting .318, 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, and OPS a tick under 1,000 at .979. And how awful his numbers were before injury, that's even helped to increase his numbers up to .242. Now in total, 13 homers, 35 RBIs, OPS of .831. These were numbers that were pitiful pre-injury. Pitiful. And now he has done so well to the point where now their numbers are like, oh, yeah, I'm cool with that. It is really good. Insane what he has done. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, his OPS is like, his OBP is like 370. His slug in the last 7 games, extra base hits, home runs wise, 724. His slug. Insane. And in the field, he's looked good. Like today, I mean, it's been shaky at times. He's had shaky defense at times, definitely. Especially if he's at third base, which is not his primary position, as we know. He really only played it for the first time when he got here last year. And he's continued to play it into this year. Played it less before injury, but at post-injury, especially after Cabrera had his horrible injury. Yeah, Jazz has gotten more third base looks again. And today he made himself a very nice, beautiful, smooth, clean double play, getting the force at third and throwing very nicely off balance to first. A strike to Goldschmidt over there. Like, very nice play. He has his moments where he's very flash and he's very solid defensively. And he has his moments where he's very shaky and definitely screws up plays he should not be screwing up. But especially if you factor that in with his performance at the plate, I think overall, I think we could all agree, Jazz post-injury has been fantastic. I was dead wrong about how that would go. I was dreading getting him back from injury based off what we saw in the playoffs and then leading all the way through spring training and this season. I was like, I guess Jazz is just fried, so I don't really care that he's coming back. I guess he's done. But shut me the hell up, man, since he got back, and I love every second of it. In those regards, I love being shut the hell up. I even tweeted that earlier today. So by all means, shut me up, dude. Then you have Goldschmidt. I mentioned him before. And they have moved him down in the lineup since they've kind of had to because it's been really rough. Like I said, just like yesterday, I think it was, he broke an 0 for 20. He's 1 for his last 23. 6 for his last 47. This last month has been really rough because, again, 3 weeks ago when we had the last Yapping Yankees episode, 3 Sundays ago, it was already like a week or two into him finally showing signs of slowing down then. And it has really continued since we last spoke, even since then. So for the better part of the last month or so, Goldschmidt has been really bad at the plate. Makes me so sad because he got off to such a great start, but I had to remind myself that was a way over performance. I think we knew that. I mean, month and a half, 2 months in, he's batting friggin' 360 at his age. It's probably not going to last, and there is going to be a correction, and my God, has there been. Last 30 games, he's batting 171. So, unfortunately, a lot of the first half that some Cardinals fans saw of Goldschmidt last year, where his numbers were so poor, really for the first or only second time of his career at the most, last year, that was mainly thanks to the first half he had. We're seeing now a large part of what Goldschmidt was last year in the first half. That really sucks. I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be this harsh of a crash down to earth given just how good he was doing. I was hoping it wasn't going to be, but it is. It's been rough. I'm being very patient because, again, it's just using realism. You have to remember his age, and he is on the decline, and that was not sustainable what he was doing before. He's always been great in his career, and he definitely has flashes of that. I mean, we saw that for months to start the year, but there is going to be a correction to that, especially because of his age. It's just realism. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. And you're seeing it play out right in front of you, so you know it's a fact. I had trepidation about this before it started, but now that it is going on, I'm not at all surprised. So I'm not as livid as some people might think. I'll give him some time to find it. I mean, we're over halfway through now. The All-Star break is not far away, so maybe after a little bit of a breather, maybe he'll kick it back into gear and then fight through the rest of the season after that. But it has been rough the last month or so at Goldschmidt. Still been fine with the glove. No complaints with the glove. But the bat, we have definitely had to exercise some patience in that regard. It has been rough. There's no mincing words. I mean, think of how his numbers were just a month ago, and you hear these now. You know how hard of a crash back down to earth it has been. 282 average, 8 home runs, 32 RBIs, 768 OPS. I mean, a month ago, it was probably like 340, 350. And like just about as many home runs, pretty much. Not many less RBIs. OPS probably in the mid 800s. It's been harsh. Real harsh. I just hope he continues to figure it out. Hopefully. Then you have Jason. Jason's interesting. Jason will have games where he goes 4 for 5 in one game like he did in Cincy, I think it was. And then he'll go a while not doing much. He comes in bunches. That's Jason, I've noticed, a lot of the time offensively. Defensively, I'll continue to say he has been better than I expected in the field. Better than I expected, for sure. I mean, all year, this year in 2025, if I'm looking here, I'm looking at on the MLB app. In 2025, he's had 54 games out there. I don't see an error here. Much better in the field. At times he looks like uncomfortable out there. He definitely does, but I don't know, man. There are definitely some plays that he probably could have done better on, or maybe that he deserved an error with. But I think we can all agree at the very least that despite any of those personal opinions with that, he's been much better in left field than I thought he was going to be. I thought it was going to be a friggin' clown show out there. And he's missed a lot of games, and I know that somebody has to sit all the time. Again, blame Baldy there for the roster jam, for the log jam. But regardless, in the opportunities that he has gotten, irregardless of how we feel about that, I mean, he's looked good. I wish he would get more opportunities because, again, this was the first season he really got to start from jump and play throughout and really continue to develop as a major league hitter and player overall. So I wish he had more consistency. I get very annoyed when they sit him, especially against right-handed pitchers where he could use his strength, the left side of the plate. He has been better lately as a right-handed hitter. His stats have visibly improved with that lately. But I still prefer him from the left side, and it makes me mental when they feel like they have to sit him against righties, too. I just wish he'd get more looks. It's complicated because of the logjam. I understand. And in some ways, it's not a bad problem. I get it. But in other ways, especially when the guy deserves to play, or he's a hot hand, and I believe in hot streaks, everybody should. It's annoying. And when you have a kid like that who's at 22, you want him to keep developing and keep getting looks and keep working through the kinks and his troubles, it's annoying. It is. It just is. But I think we could all agree that in the field at least, much better than we expected, despite some visible discomfort at times. But at the plate, that's just what I see from him. Nothing's blown me back at all, really. I mean, he definitely has his games where he shows what could be, for sure. That's what I mean, as it comes in bunches. It definitely tends to. But overall, what it all evens out to, an average floating around 250, 6 homers, 27 RBIs, 622 OPS, based off a 335 on-base percentage and a 387 slugging. It's fine. It's fine. I just think he needs more looks. And then other times it's just a little disappointing at times, but he's a kid. He's working through it, guys. Volpe, I know he was showing signs of, like, getting back into it last episode when we last spoke. You'll never really hear me saying anything beyond, he's okay, because that's what Volpe is at best, in my opinion. He's all right. You guys know Volpe really doesn't impress me, on the whole. There are times on defense where he just does a lot of stupid crap, and that definitely is his forte, his defense. There's no arguing that. No arguing that. But even then, like, he'll make these stellar plays, like, oh my God, how the hell did he do that? And then a lot of the time, there's an easy play, especially in a big spot. He gets jittery in big spots, I'm telling you, man. We saw it a lot in the last 3 weeks as well. Gets real jittery again, and he just bobbles a ball. He boots it, a ball that he shouldn't be booting, especially someone of his defensive caliber. It's a baffling ball player, man. Baffling. Especially considering it's halfway through year 3 now. His resurgence that happened for a few weeks ago, for a couple of weeks, give or take, allowed me to sort of reinvest in my patience to try to give him the rest of the year. But again, lately, once again, it's just bleh. At best, it's bleh. In the last couple of weeks, batting 128, 6 for 47, 2 for his last 18. At one point, he was like 0 for 24, 0 for 25. Like Jesus, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, I know he's got to be better than this. We saw moments throughout his young career, not many at all, but we saw moments where, like, it's there, especially the start of last season. I don't expect anything close to that, but, like, it's got to be there. We've spoken about all the troubles with Volpe ad nauseum, inability to adjust, shortening the swing when it needs to be shortened. I mean, we've gone through it all. No use in regurgitating it all. It's a waste of time at this point. But it's just frustrating to watch, man. I mean, none of the stats, none of them blow your hair back. None of them. He's batting 228 right now. And again, in the example of someone like Ben Rice, I would look beyond that if there was something else that really impresses me. Like 9 home runs for a shortstop, that's not bad at the halfway point. If you could hit 20 home runs as a shortstop, I'd take that. The RBI is 44, not bad. So I mean, a couple of things. But like the OPS is, It's not the 800s like Ben. It's the low 700s. It's fine. It's all right. And when he slumps, bro, he slumps. And the problem is, like, this kind of gameplay from him, it spans weeks. It is long, drawn out. It's not something that just, like, it's like a drive-by. It's not. It lasts. Especially as someone, like, of his speed. And that leads me to my next point with him, the baffling thing. Anybody realize the deal with Volpe this year? With stolen bases? I don't know what the hell is going on, but this kid's supposed to be quick, and I've seen him be quick. And he's done a nice job with stealing bases in the past, although, like, in his rookie year, when he had 20 stolen, like, around, like, the teens or 15 stolen bases, like, very early on, that just stagnated, didn't have him run as much, and only finished with, like, 20. Definitely should have had more. And we saw that a bit last year, too. But he should be stealing a lot more bases. That, I definitely think so. And in better spots. Sometimes the Yankees just do it in stupid moments. But has anybody realized he's gotten caught a lot this year? A lot. There are times where he doesn't run out a ground ball the way I expect him to. He's got 9 stolen bases and 7 caught stealing. The most caught stealings he's had in 1 year was 7 last year. He was at 7 weeks ago, before the halfway point of this year. He's gotten caught a lot this year. Has anybody realized that? It's almost like 50-50 when it comes to stolen base attempts with him. And with someone with his speed, that's got to be better. I'm sorry. That's got to be better. There's just so many things that Anthony Volpe does that just, in bone-crushing fashion, disappoints the hell out of me. I'm sorry. Some of his numbers are fine. They're fine. Like his OPS plus and his WRC plus. Before today. And I think he had a hit today. Yeah, he had that double down the right field line. He went 1 for 4. And he had a walk as well. Like his OPS plus and his WRC plus barely floating around 100 now, and 100's average for both. It's eh. And I know some people are okay with that for shortstop, to each their own, whatever. But I know he could do better. I'm sorry. That's the reason I get frustrated with him. I feel like he could be doing better. A lot better. That's when I get frustrated with guys like that. I get frustrated because I care. And I feel like it could be better, and it's not. And they're not doing much. I mean, I don't know what they're doing in their own time, but, like, it just, with the lack of adjustment that you see from him, it makes you question, like, if anybody's helping him out, if he's putting in the effort as much as he should be. Like, it makes you question these things. You don't know for sure. You're not in on it. What the hell do I know? But, like, it makes you wonder. I don't know, man. Frustrating. Hope he finds his way again. I don't want him to fail. Like I always have to say over and over again, like a broken friggin' record. I don't want any Yankee to fail. I root for this team. I don't want them to fail. But every fan is allowed to critique, especially if you feel things with certain individual players or things overall could be better and they're not. You're allowed to critique. Call things out. And I do with Anthony. Because I care about this team, I care about the players, and especially if I feel like you could be doing better and you have more talent than you're showing, I'm going to call it out. And I do with him. So if anything, it's a compliment to him, if you want to look at it that way. But again, it's either, he's doing fine, or just disappoints me. And that's sad. He's the golden boy for a lot of people. You would think he's the next coming of infielders. He's not. At least not right now. Yeah, speaking of cripplingly disappointed infielders, Oswald Peraza, he's still around. Makes some nice, stylish plays himself, too, man, sometimes. And, you know, with the glove, he's considered strong, and he is. He just does nothing with the bat. He does nothing. Does nothing with the bat. Not a thing. Another guy I'm very disappointed in, who I put a lot of faith in and expected pretty big things from, especially when certain things unfortunately happened with this team. Cabrera getting hurt, and there were other injuries, like Jazz was out for a while, and DJ wasn't back yet. The infield is kind of up for grabs in many respects, and he could have just made any position just his. It was kind of up for grabs, and he just didn't do anything with it. Very disappointing. Speaking of DJ, him as well. Lately, he has definitely come back down to earth a bit, but a few weeks ago, he was actually doing pretty good. Like, he was okay. Hitting a couple of home runs and driving him some runs. And, you know, the last week or so, he's definitely gone back to, unfortunately, what he's been for the better part of the last 3 or 4 years. But, like 3-4 weeks ago, even a couple of moments a couple of weeks ago, like he wasn't doing bad. Putting the bat on the ball sort of like he used to. 2021-ish. Sort of looked like that. And the defense is mostly there as well, as it usually is with him. But he's another guy who has to sit sometimes because of the logjam, infield, outfield, the whole deal. And he's come back down to earth. So I don't really care that he sits a lot. I still think DJ's pretty much done, even though I was pleasantly surprised to see that he wasn't absolutely god-awful in recent times. But, yeah, I don't know, just the offense has been so up and down and weird and mostly down, but I don't know. Really, really weird times for the Yankees lately. Really strange. Oh, and before I forget him, because he didn't play today, you have Austin Wells, too, obviously, main Yankees catcher. And a few weeks ago, he definitely went on that little bit of a tear, too, for those first few days. I was like, oh, my God, Wells is, like, resurging a little bit. Yeah, last couple of weeks, again, he has been crap. He has gone back to being just crap. There are some numbers that he has that are definitely impressive for catchers, like the 11 home runs and the 45 RBIs around the halfway point of the year. Those kinds of final numbers, regardless of average or anything else when it comes to catchers. You have over 20 home runs. You have anywhere from like 90 to 100 home runs driven in. Offensively, when it comes to catching, I am cool with that. That's fine. But in a lot of other respects, you just see the numbers just continuing to drop. Like his average, if anyone cares about that, it's going to be under 210 before we know it. It's just getting lower and lower. The OPS is now under 700. Only by a digit, but still. It's going under 700. 5 for his last 26, which is really bad. 9 for his last 49, which is also really bad. The power has mostly dissipated. Sort of like the extra base hits were kind of there a few weeks ago. But yeah, it's been really bad the last 2.5, 3 weeks. Been really bad. And there are just still times where he makes certain calls behind the plate. I've been a critic of it at times, and I'll continue to do so. There are times where certain calls that Wells makes just makes me scratch my head. It's weird. I just don't understand the repetition of certain pitches in certain spots, how certain things are called. Weird. I don't know. That's why I've always said I do like, and I know he plays significantly less. Maybe it would be exposed otherwise if he played more. But I personally like how J.C. Escarra calls games more. That's my personal opinion from a defensive perspective. Wells, I think, has his positive attributes, but he does not blow my hair back. He does not. He just doesn't. A lot of the time, he's he's a bit disappointing. There are times where he makes me happy, and I'm very happy, very thrilled with him, but it's kind of few and far between, it feels like. It's destined to be that with most guys during a long baseball season, but I think most of you guys know what I'm talking about in regards to Wells in that sort of thought process. And Stanton, even though he has just gotten back, I still think that it was a mistake, and a lot of people call it a nitpick, it's whatever. I still think it was a mistake to sit him on his third day back. I know that it is such a Yankee thing to sit immediately after an injury to try to prevent injury, even though people still get hurt all the time, so what the hell is even the point? I know that's not an excuse to be irresponsible, but the guy gets hurt all the time anyway. What is the point? It's almost like the same old argument with the pitchers. Like, you're doing all these things to protect them and validate what they're doing and like put them almost in like some sort of a figurative bubble, if you will. Yet they're all still getting hurt. So what's the point? I don't know. Like I said, rocking a hard place. But he started off looking real good. He was hitting the ball real hard when he first got back. Stanton, he was 4 for his first 8. And now he's slowed down a bit. And it's kind of annoying because he came back looking real good. I hope he finds it again. He doesn't have a home run yet, but he has driven in a couple of runs. And he's now 8 for his first 34, 4 for his last 25. The 4 for 25 part is not good. But, I mean, overall, he's just trying to figure it out. He definitely hit the ball hard a lot in his first couple of nights back. And I was very happy to see that. He was tearing the cover off the ball when he was in his rehab assignment. I hope he just finds it. But again, with someone like him, the lack of consistency could be a problem. That's where the logjam becomes a negative a bit. It's not good. So for someone like Stanton, that's annoying. So hopefully he just continues to find his way in that regard. But they have to sit someone like every day pretty much. So that's the deal. So that's pretty much the offense, guys. Up and down, a lot of the time down. If you want to talk about like much of what they've done. Since we last spoke, I believe they were playing, what was it, the Red Sox? I don't even remember, to be honest. But then they played the Angels. They had a disgraceful offensive series there, except for the last game when they scored 7 runs. But before that, they were friggin' dead. That's where the scoreless streak continued from the end of the Red Sox weekend, and then they didn't score until, what was it, in the third Angels game, until like the second inning. Yeah, that was when Jazz hit a home run. It was their first run in 30 1/3 innings. Just brutal. And they scored 7 in the last game of that series on Thursday the 19th. Then they scored just 3 against the Orioles the following night when they lost a game they should not have lost. Then they won 9-0 on Saturday, so again, the whiplash. And then they won the next game, scoring 4 runs on Sunday, last Sunday when I was supposed to do an episode but didn't. And then they played the Reds, and yeah, the first game was just horrible. Lost 6-1, only scored a run. And that was actually to start the game. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Judge starting off the game with a home run on the top of the first. Yeah, nothing for the rest of the game. Lost 6-1. And then Tuesday, they scored 4 runs, and things were looking pretty good. I mean, they were up 3-0 as of the 4th inning. And then a combination of Rodon coming out early in that game and Loaisiga coming in and just imploding allowed them to tie the game. And then the Yankees took a 4-3 lead in the top of the 11th after some more disgraceful displays of non-scoring for many innings after the 4th. And then they blew it in the bottom of the 11th, which was just so unbelievably predictable. And the bullpen was burned out. Gee, I wonder why. And they had Mark Leiter. They really forced the issue with him, and he was clearly gassed. That just went horribly. But aside from all that, 4 runs that day, and much of the game was just a disgraceful display of no offense. And then Wednesday, they finally kicked their asses into gear and scored 7 runs and salvaged a freaking game in Cincinnati, for crying out loud. Then they scored just 3 on Friday to get the job done against the A's, scored nothing yesterday, and then 12 today. So that's what I'm talking about. It's enough to just make your head pop up right off your shoulders. It is just jarring. Up and down. And it is so inconsistent, so unpredictable, like baseball often is generally, but even more unpredictable when it comes to how the Yankees have been playing. It's just crazy, this team. It's wild. If you want to talk about pitchers, well, we can actually start today. Marcus Stroman was just recently reactivated for the first time in months, which I was absolutely dreading, and I still am. I don't think Stroman has really much of anything left in the tank, to be honest. But today's start against the A's, I honestly take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. 5 innings of 1-run ball. Yeah, I'll take that from Marcus anytime. 1 strikeout, because he doesn't strike anybody out because his stuff is pretty easy to hit for major league hitters, but that's besides the point. I take that start every time. But him being back certainly does no favors for the Yankee starting rotation. Luis Gil cannot come back soon enough. And speaking of Luis Gil, I guess I was right about that. Everybody months ago, and I know this could be a hard thing to predict, but a lot of people months ago were saying, late June, it'll be fine. I said it, and you could go listen back to the last bunch of episodes. I even said it in the most recent one, and going as far back as when he got hurt. And I'm talking right when he got hurt. I said, this guy's not coming back till at least July. And that's exactly what's going on. He hasn't even started a rehab assignment yet. At this point, I just wait till after the All-Star break, honestly. There's no point in bringing him back before that. It's just in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, Stroman being back does nothing for me. It doesn't move the needle. Then you have Clark Schmidt. Had a bit of a rough outing yesterday, allowing 4 runs in 6 innings, striking out 7. Good aspects of the outing. And the wheels didn't really come off until all the way in the 6th inning. Only allowed a run before that leading up to the 6th, though mostly a good start. Before that, he had gone around 27 to 28 innings straight without allowing a run. That's really good. So that's a credit to Clark. Clark can be a little bit up and down at times, but when he's up, he can't really be touched. I'm really proud of how he's continued to develop. His stuff gets sharper and cleaner the more outings he gets, despite all of the injury troubles he's had in his young career. I'm happy with him. So his numbers overall are still very nice. I'm very satisfied with what he's done overall. Even despite allowing those 4 runs, his ERA is still just 3.09. 4-4, 3.09, and 75 2/3 innings. A whip barely above 1. 72 strikeouts in about 75 innings. So striking out just about a person per inning. Last 7 games that he's pitched, 2.09 ERA. It's really good. Really good. I got no issues with Clark. There are times he could definitely be that guy, and people always even say it about him. He'll be that guy to at times allow 3 runs in the first inning, and you think it's going to just be an absolute disaster. And then he goes the next 6 innings without allowing a run. He can be that kind of a guy. Sometimes a lot of the damage always happens all at once, and he's just clean throughout the rest of it. But still, he's mostly very, very good. And that scoreless streak, he was the only one, other than Catfish Hunter, I think it was, since the 60s, to go at least 26, 27, 28 innings straight scoreless. So that's pretty friggin' cool. And I think the official number that he did go was 28 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. I think that passed Catfish Hunter in 75. I think Mel Stottlemyre might have been a part of that too. I don't remember the chart from the other day. But now, since it ended at 28 2/3, it was said to be the longest streak by a Yankee starter of having scoreless innings since Don Larsen's 29 innings across 1957 and 1958. So that's spanned across a couple of seasons, if you want to count that. I know that Joe DiMaggio's hit streak, I think, did the same thing. But still, regardless, it counts. It's games in a row. But just 1 out away from tying that streak for Don Larsen, you're in a pretty elite class of Yankee pitchers in this regard. So again, huge kudos to Clark. He has been, for the most part, awesome since he got back. He definitely had his struggles when he first did come back, and he was still ramping up and getting his pitch count elevated start by start, but he's the man. Good on him. So I hope he keeps it up. Then you have Will Warren. Now, Will Warren's another interesting one. Will Warren definitely still gets himself into trouble with certain jams that start from his own crap because he walks a lot of guys still. That's still a problem for him. But he's striking more guys out lately. He's still got to go a little bit deeper into games on more of a regular basis to really cement himself as a true Major League Baseball starter, in my opinion. But if you look at his numbers since that first month or so, it's not that bad. Not that bad. There are definitely some outings where he just annoys the hell out of me. A lot of the trouble he gets in, it's trouble that he just sows for himself. But he's definitely had his fair share of really good outings as well. I mean, if you want to look at the last 3 alone, the latest one he had against the A's on Friday, 5 innings, shutout. Then 6 1/3 against Baltimore, only allowing 2. Then he had the Angels start, 6 innings, 3 runs. Not bad. Not bad in certain outings. A lot of those real clunkers that he had earlier on, and especially that Dodgers start, definitely inflated his ERA majorly. I think he could be in the upper 3s, if not for those, possibly. So he's definitely taken some further steps, but we'll see. I mean, he's still got to get things under control. He's still learning. So we'll see. We'll see how much more time he gets depending on what happens when Heel comes back. It'll be interesting to see what the Yankees do with the rotation at that point, especially with Yarbrough still out. If Yarbrough comes back and Heel comes back, see what they do with guys like Warren or Stroman, guys considered to be on the lower end of the rotation. We'll see. It'll be interesting. As far as any other starters in the equation, then you have the main guys, of course, lately. Max Fried. First pitcher to hit 10 wins this year, with his ERA still in the 190s. My goodness gracious me. 104 strikeouts in 108 innings. Higher strikeout per inning rate this year. Whip under 1. He is just unbelievable. People were talking about this, and I definitely can see where they're coming from. Even when he struggled, he labors through and still gets it done. He just does. People were saying that he might be having amongst the best starts of any other free agent that the Yankees have had, basically ever. Especially in regards to starting pitchers. And that's true. I mean, this has been remarkable through the first half of the year. Even Cole, I don't think, did this good in his first few months of his Yankee tenure. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable what Max Fried continues to do. That's just about all that needs to be said about him. And then you have Carlos Rodon. Now, Rodon had that extreme long run where he was fantastic. And then he had a few clunkers where he started to allow home runs again in his last few starts. But against Cincinnati, he got taken out pretty early, and I know it was hot there, but I don't know. Still in the 80s of pitches, a lot of controversy around that, whatever. Shouldn't have lost that game, that's for sure, regardless. Bullpen's got to hold it. But been giving up more home runs lately, in the LA start, Boston start. Boston usually always seems to tag him a bit. Kind of annoys the crap out of me, actually. But in Cincinnati, again, before he got taken out, a bit early. 6 innings, no runs. That's fine. But then the starts before that, 3-4 runs allowed, home runs started to make a bit of appearances again. So, bit of the old Rodon coming back out again, but still overall, it's all amounted to still a very respectable season. 9-5, still a 2.92 ERA, 119 strikeouts in 101 2/3 innings. I'd take that from Rodon. I take it. Totally cool with me. So that's the starting rotation, and the bullpen just continues to give the utmost of whiplash possible. Loaisiga has just been so all over the place unexpectedly. I know the guy's missed so much time due to injury. There have been some outings out there, especially the one in Cincinnati this past week. He has really disappointed me. And there are times where he looks the way he should look, one of the best relievers in baseball because he has some of the best stuff in baseball. He really does still. I will argue that. It's been a little disappointing at times. So I just hope he continues to figure that out. 2 of his last 3 outings have been fine. He still goes out there and gets the job done plenty. Like he did today when the Yankees really needed him to. Huge kudos there. But, yeah, I don't know. Some days he just doesn't get it done quite like he used to. Some days, and other days he does. So he's up and down. Hope he finds a little bit of consistency. Fernando Cruz, he's been a little better lately, but I think it would be fair to argue that he's been pretty inconsistent since he returned from his injury. since he had that, he definitely wasn't as good. He's not as good as he was before. Still fine. At times he goes out there and gets it done, but like he definitely gets into more trouble lately since his injury happened than he did before that. He was cracked out of his mind before the injury. But still overall fine, I guess. Could definitely be worse, for sure. Luke Weaver reactivated, obviously, somewhat recently. He's been a little bit off with certain outings since he's come back, but still Luke Weaver. Still looks good for the most part. I mean, they use him a lot, so he's going to be tired at times, that's for sure. But ERA still in the mid-ones. Cannot complain about that. 29 strikeouts in 29 innings pretty much, so he's still a strikeout guy. Whip well under 1. Last few outings hasn't allowed a run. So Luke Weaver's still Luke Weaver. Devin Williams, he has continued to just shut everybody up. I mean, for the most part, if you want to look at his past bunch of outings, we all know that for the most part, since like the first or second week of May, he has been very, very good. But he still continues to just get the job done, which is very encouraging. I mean, he hasn't allowed a single run since June 3rd. That should definitely be mentioned. You look at his ERAs in the last few months in May, mainly because of the beginning of the month, for the most part, definitely. His ERA was 4.22. Otherwise, since the first, second-ish week, did fine. And his ERA in June is under 1, guys. Under 1. So Devin has been back. Like I said in the last episode, too, despite how much I ripped him apart at the start of the season. Rightfully so, because he was that bad. I mean, I've almost never seen anything like it, a decline like that. But he's been back, for sure. And that's got to be acknowledged. It's been terrific. Mark Leiter Jr., he's kind of the up and down guy, too. And he's used a lot, and then like the other night he was exhausted in Cincy. That went horribly wrong. But, I mean, overall, he's fine, I guess. You look at his ERA in June, it's in the mid-3s. May wasn't too kind to him. I mean, aside from the real only clunker in May was the last day of the month on May 31st. That was the game against the Dodgers. He had a really rough outing that day. That's really what drove that ERA. And then April's 3.18. And so overall, that amounts to 3.66 so far. It's nothing bad. He's not bad. But, yeah, he'll have his clunkers, and he'll just run out of gas, and at times he looks really bad, and then at times he'll look good. And he's a big part of the bullpen. So it's kind of up and down. How I feel about Marky Mark as well. And hey, JT Brubaker's also back. They finally proved that this guy actually exists. How about that? My God, that's hilarious. And he's back, and today he looked absolutely horrible. He looked utterly horrible today. I mean, they could have used a couple of innings out of him, and yet he got 1 out and allowed multiple runs, 4 charged to him, all completely deserved. Just a horrible outing. But otherwise, he was reactivated towards the end of the month, just about like a week ago or so. First couple of outings that he had, he went 2 shutout on the 21st against Baltimore. And then in Cincinnati, he had a shutout inning, and then today he imploded. So, I mean, Brubaker's a guy who at times he was all right in his career, and then at other times he was just awful, and he's been out with injury for like over a year. I mean, he's been out forever. Long time he's been out, to the point where, and he had so many setbacks where he was close to coming back multiple times within the last year, so people started to doubt, mostly myself, that he was even real. But he is, shockingly. And today he looked awful, but otherwise not enough outings to really truly judge yet. We'll see just how important he is to the bullpen. Could be effective long relief if he gets his act together after today. But we'll see what happens in that regard. My boy Tim Hill, and I guess we'll stop here because we've done a pretty in-depth analysis. I think it's safe to say almost an hour and a half into the episode already. We'll wrap up shortly. But Tim Hill, I mean, in April, he definitely had a couple of games where I was like, oh, damn. Like, he allowed runs in multiple outings in April, amounting to a 3.55 ERA in that month, then 3.86 in May, and June he's done very well. In June, he's only allowed one earned run in the month of June. And that amounts to what has been an 0.77 ERA in June. So anytime where he was looking a little iffy and a little inconsistent in the first couple of months, that has not been the case in June. He has been really back to the Tim Hill we loved in big spots, especially last year. And that amounts to an ERA in total in the mid-twos now. So he is once again trusted, which I loved because I'm a huge Tim Hill advocate, especially when it comes to him facing lefties. So we love that. We absolutely love that. So that's really the gist of the team, guys. And a lot of ups and downs, like I just spit out a bunch of scores to you, and again, especially against teams where they should not be losing games. And I believe at one point before this A's series, when they had lost against the Reds for the first couple of games, I think they had lost like 9 of their prior 12 games, and it was all against teams like the Red Sox, the Orioles, and the Reds. So they went through a stretch they were just losing a bunch of games where they shouldn't be losing. So that's the gist of the prior 2 weeks. We'll go over what's happened this past week a little bit more in depth if you want. We'll just speed blitz through it because I don't want to keep you here too much longer. Again, trying to clip the episodes as best as I can so I don't keep you here for 2.5 friggin' hours anymore. But let's hit the Yapping Yankees time machine, do weekly recap real quick, and then we'll hit on some of the latest news in Yankee land before wrapping up, and then coming back in a couple of weeks for another episode. Yapping Yankees time machine, let's go. So Monday, like I had mentioned really briefly against the Reds, this was just a nothing burger game outside of a Judge solo shot, his 28th of the year. Alan Winans, who they had up at the time, just had a really crappy outing as of the 4th inning and on. I mean, the first couple innings he looked fine, but just fell apart. And the Yankees after that, Tim Hill had allowed a run. His only run in June. That was the only earned run I mentioned before. Ian Hamilton looks shaky, walking somebody and allowing 2 hits in 2 innings as well. But, I mean, he's been pretty bad since he came back, as we know. I think I even critiqued him a bit a few weeks ago in the last Yapping Yankees episode, but he's been another one that's been rough, and he has not been happy with it of late, even been emotional over it recently. I think he even said he just feels he could be throwing the ball a lot better, and he's not wrong. So the Yankee offense being dead in this game, and Winans falling apart, and the bullpen not really getting it done the way they should be, and defense screwing up even a bit, yeah, led to a 6-1 loss to start the series in Cincy. Very frustrating. And if you want to talk about frustrating, well, Game 2 is pretty much the definition of that. Ben Rice got the scoring kicked off, and I really thought that they were going to have themselves a nice win here. The Reds had their absolute stud, Chase Burns, come up from the minor leagues for his first outing at age 22, a flame-throwing, well-located pitcher, facing the Yankees in his first ever outing, and the first couple innings went so badly. And then Ben Rice tagged him for a solo shot in the top of the 4th. And then Volpe had a 2-run triple, made it 3-0 after that. And then you also had Rodon on the mound, and he was doing great till he had to be taken out after the 6th inning with like 87 or 88 pitches because he apparently said that he was tired because it was hot out and whatever. I had a bad feeling about that, and I was right to have it because Loaizaga came in and blew it sky high after that, allowed the Reds to tie it up at 3. Then the Yankees had a bunch of disgraceful innings not scoring after that until they managed to just push one across in the top of the 11th, only on a wild pitch. That was just how much they couldn't score. It's literally the worst extra inning, especially road team, but also overall extra inning team I've just about ever seen the Yankees in 2025, man. They suck in extra innings. They freaking suck. Especially on the road. They can't buy a run, even with the runner they're gifted. So frustrating. And then Mark Leiter Jr. in his second inning of work in the bottom of the 11th, just awful. 5-4 loss in extras, terrible. Had to salvage a game in this series, especially with Fried going in Game 3, and thank God they did. I mean, good Lord. 7 innings, no earned runs, 1 run in general, but 7 strikeouts for Fried through an absolute gem. Fernando Cruz and Brubaker wrapping it up after that. You had Trent getting an RBI single, Jazz 2-run shot as he continues to again be great since he got back from his injury. Volpe sac fly, Judge RBI double, Stanton drove in a run on a ground out, Wells even RBI single. 7-1 win there. And then you had this weekend against the A's. Will Warren started this game. Again, 4 walks, 2 hits. Not great in that regard, but the 5 shutout, you take that every time. 7 strikeouts. 5th win of the year for him. Bullpen got the job done on this night. Very nice to see. Hill, Cruz, Weaver, Williams all got it done. And it seems like Williams has settled back into the closer role. Weaver's injury kind of allowed him to do that, despite the fact that Weaver came back much sooner than expected. But it allowed Devin to sort of take back that closer role, I guess. And he's done very well, so can't really complain. ERA is still up there because of just how bad he was to start the year, but if he continues to go out there and have the outings he's having, well, it'll only continue to go down from there. And then the offense, they didn't have to do much work. Bottom of the 2nd, Jazz solo shot. Bottom of the 3rd, Cody RBI single, and then a DJ RBI single bottom of the 4th. 3-0. That was all it took. The Yankees pitching held the A's to 3 hits. Good stuff there. And speaking of being held to 3 hits, Yankee offense the very next day on Saturday, in your finest example of whiplash, right? There you go. Only Goldschmidt, Bellinger, and LeMahieu each got a hit. Everybody else, niente. Means nothing in Italian for those non-foreign language speakers. And Clark had himself a good outing, only allowing that solo shot to Brent Rooker in the top of the 4th that broke that scoreless inning streak we spoke about before. Then he folded a bit in the top of the 6th. And then all the way in the 8th, you had Winans come in, and he folded like origami once again. So 7-0, really lousy loss for the Yankees. And then today was the big day to finish off the weekend. Stroman again, a start that despite how much our trust has been shaken and we just all think that he has nothing left really, a start that we take every day of the week. So 5 innings, 1-run ball. Brubaker looked terrible, but not enough to allow the game to get out of hand or be a ball game again after the Yankees were winning 10-1. But, yeah, speaking of those 10, which ultimately ended up being 12, the first 4 were all Jazz. Solo shot and a 3-run triple. Then a wild pitch. Then Judge had himself his couple of 2-run shots, driving in Cody both times. Cody had himself his 3-run homer as well, so just a really fun day for the Yankees, winning another series finally after they'd also won a series against the Orioles. These last couple of weekends are the only series they've won in a few weeks. A lot of ups and downs, like I said. So coming up for the Yankees now, heading into a new week after they finally took another series. Something tells you they're going to have a hard time here, but I hope I'm wrong. Next 4 days, they're playing Toronto, in Toronto. Blue Jays, Yankees, 7:07 p.m. tomorrow night. That pitching matchup's set to be Rodon against Scherzer. How about that? Then Tuesday at 3:07 p.m. Eastern, strangely enough, you have Max Fried against Kevin Gossman. That should be a good matchup. And then on Wednesday, it'll be Prime Wednesdays for the Yankees, so that'll be on Amazon Prime, 7:07 p.m. Eastern once again at Rogers Center. That'll be Will Warren against Jose Berrios, depending on how you pronounce it. And then Thursday, July 3rd, to wrap up the 4-game set, 7:07 Eastern again against the Blue Jays at Rogers Center. That'll be Clark Schmidt against Chris Bassett. And then next weekend, for the weekend of the 4th of July, it'll be Yankees-Mets at Citi Field for their second and final series of this regular season, of course, after they already played each other at Yankee Stadium a couple of months ago. Yankees took that series 2 out of 3, very arguably could have and should have swept, but that is another story for another day. First game on the 4th of July, 3:10 p.m. Eastern at Citi Field. Pitching matchups have not been announced yet. Saturday, July 5th, 4:10 p.m. Eastern at Citi Field once again. And then Sunday, next Sunday, the 6th, will be at 1:40 p.m. Eastern. And we'll just go really quick through the next week since I don't expect to yap with you again until the 13th. Yankees are off on Monday, July 7th. Then starting again on Tuesday, facing Cal Raleigh and the Mariners. Be interesting to see Raleigh in person once again after all he's done. 7:05 p.m. Eastern at the stadium, Tuesday the 8th. Wednesday on Amazon Prime, also at the stadium. For the Yankees, at least, it's on Amazon Prime. Wednesday the 9th, 7:05 p.m. Eastern at the stadium again, and 7:05 Eastern as well on Thursday to wrap up that 3-game set. And then, if you could believe it, based on how friggin' fast time always seems to go, the final series before the All-Star break in 2 weekends from now. And it's pretty cool that this is the last opponent they're seeing before them, but they will welcome the Cubs to town. The Cubbies are coming to New York. 7:05 p.m. Eastern on Friday the 11th. On Saturday the 12th, 1:05 p.m. Eastern, and then 1:35 p.m. Eastern on Sunday the 13th to wrap up the pre-All-Star Week season. I don't like to call it the halfway point of the season because technically we just passed that games-wise, numerically. But the hypothetical first half of the season in this regard. And then after that, you got the Derby, All-Star Game, all that jazz. So that's the next couple of weeks, guys. Pre-All-Star Game. Until then, those are the last bunch of games for the Yankees leading up to that. Let's just run through some really quick things in the news since the last time we had spoken. On June 10th, the Yankees had finally announced that Stanton was starting his rehab. He has obviously since returned and been back for about a week or so, give or take, week or two. Stroman had started his rehab assignment the day after that as well, regardless of our feelings on that. He was just reactivated for his first start in months today, as we know. I did not make it a secret that I didn't want him coming back. I still feel that way, but I am glad that he did well in his first outing today. Then on Friday the 12th, you had Brent Hedrick, who's optioned back down to AAA so that Scott Efros could return. It's a name we haven't heard in forever, right? So then on the 16th, that was when Stanton was officially reactivated, a little bit less than 2 weeks ago. That was also when Pablo Reyes was DFA'd. There's a lot of celebration in the Yankee community about that. There you go. So there you go there. And then he elected free agency after that. Then it was announced once again that Jake Cousins, he had another setback, and get this, after all the troubles he's already had, he now needs Tommy John surgery. Isn't that lovely? So he is not going to be back for a long time now. After all of the anticipation, seeing what he could do in 2025, after what we saw him do so many times in 24, being another like no-name sort of guy in the bullpen, a gem of a find most of the time, even into the playoffs. Then he got hurt, and he's been hurt for a long time. Seeing what he could do in 25, anticipating his return, he's had many rehab assignments, and now he needs Tommy John surgery. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just wild how it has all happened for him. Wish him a speedy recovery. Absolutely sucks, no doubt. But that's the deal with him. So now Cousins is just screwed until at least well into 2026. Really crappy situation. So that's the end of that for him. And then in the middle of that same week, Scott Efros was optioned back down to AAA. That was when JT Brubaker was finally taken off the 60-day injured list in a stunning realization that he actually does exist, as I said. So there was that. Gary De Los Santos was placed on the 15-day injured list, also out of nowhere, seemingly. So then they brought up prospect Javen Sandridge in the meantime, who they then almost immediately optioned back down to reactivate Luke Weaver sooner than expected. So a bunch of roster action these last couple of weeks. And speaking of hitting the 15-day injured list, I mentioned this briefly before as well, but Yarbrough also hit it as well with a right oblique strain, so that's just friggin' terrific. Hope he comes back as soon as possible, but it's really TBD on that front. Sandridge was recalled again after that. This prospect is being called up and sent down over and over again. Then he was optioned after that, so they recalled Alan Winans for his start against Cincinnati, who they then optioned back down just now to reactivate Stroman so he could pitch today. Lots of roster shifting, my friends. Then just a really nice piece of news as well for those keeping an eye on the prospect system, but for those who don't already know, most people do, but for those who don't, Spencer Jones was actually promoted to AAA on Friday, so that's really cool. He's had himself a nice start, already hit a home run up there from what I understand. And it was completely to be expected. I mean, some people are saying, oh, it could be used as trade bait, whatnot, but still. I mean, he also did have a slash line of a 274 batting average, 389 on base, and a 594 slug with 16 home runs and a 186 WRC plus, like halfway through the year. Which, those were all the highest numbers of any qualified hitter in AA. So you could take the perspective of trade bait or whatnot in that sense, or you could say, you know what? He also was like the top qualifying hitter in AA, so maybe it was time for a promotion. So I'd say the time was pretty solid for that. So yeah, he's in AAA. That's cool news. We'll see how he continues to do there. Could be pretty close. Late season call-up? We don't know. We'll see. But then otherwise, there's just some of the other news around the roster on the Yankees otherwise. Like J.C. Escarra hit the paternity list, but he's back. And Luis Gil, there's been a lot of news on him recently. He threw approximately 20 pitches on June 21st, apparently, and he was in the mid-90s with his velo, tossed a live BP in Double-A as well. And he is scheduled to do so again during the Yankees' next road trip, which happens to be starting tomorrow. So he'll likely be doing 2 innings of about 35 pitches then, and then he'll begin an official minor league rehab assignment from there and ramp up from there. That's why I'm saying it just wasn't going to be June, guys. It never was. It's pretty easy to predict even months and months ago. Just wait till after the All-Star break and give him his time to ramp up. Don't rush him. You need him for the second half, help out the rotation, and solidify things even more. Take your time. Ryan Yarbrough and De Los Santos were already mentioned. It seems like there's nothing pessimistic about De Los Santos. Ryan Yarbrough doesn't sound too good because oblique strains are never great, but he was supposed to be throwing a bullpen recently, and he couldn't do it because of the pain, so that's not good. So hopefully that subsides soon. But they last tested De Los Santos, at least, on June 21st, and they said it was nothing really new or anything, so that's good news. And they expect him to get started throwing pretty soon, so that's good. Get him back soon. He was a pretty good addition. And everybody else is until 2026, guys. So that's the latest. Fortunately, not an overabundance, knock on wood, of injuries on the injured list currently. So that's the latest on that. And with that, my friends, that basically brings us to the end of today's episode. Again, I'm sorry for no social media segment. It's annoying that the one that I had for last week was very time-sensitive and specific to last week, so I couldn't really bump it up to this week. But I will be back with one for next episode. Promise. I really, really promise on that. Even if I have to post it late, I will do one. So, again, guys, really quick before I head out, I just really want to thank you all for exercising such patience with me throughout the vast inconsistency of the 2025 season for Yapping Yankees. A lot's been going on. I'm very happy about it. Hope you are too. Lots of positive life changes, but it has been more inconsistent as ever, and I hope that you all understand why it is. Lots of big stuff happening in my life in age 28. What can I tell you? So, thank you for sticking with Yapping Yankees and listening, talking about it, spreading the word, loving it, promoting it, whatever you're doing, even just listening to a minute of it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, especially if you're still making it to the end of these marathon episodes. I appreciate it more than you know, guys. Oh, by the way, before I head out, there's another thing I forgot to mention. How about the Devers trade? I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Almost forgot. How about that? I mean, out of nowhere, that blockbuster trade that Sunday night after the Red Sox completely just obliterated the Yankees in that sweep, just shut them the hell down, and then it was just announced after that. I mean, this is definitely uplifting and leaves a lot of hope for the future, not having to deal with him in the East anymore, and almost never, if ever, seeing him again and having him just kill the Yankees like he always does. Seeing that Devers was headed to the Giants out of nowhere. I mean, for what I saw at one point was for Jordan Hicks and like 3 others. I mean, little to no return at all, which shocked me at first, but then I heard that the Giants took on a whole chunk of, or basically that entire contract. So if that's really the truth, then I guess it made a bit more sense to not have more of a return than that. But my God, things must have been really so bad and not have improved between Devers and the Red Sox to actually like physically get that little back regardless of how much they took onto the contract. I understand that's a part of it, but the Red Sox community was ready to jump off a bridge, I think, and rightfully so. Another star traded away. Another one. DJ Khaled, another one. But, like, oh my gosh. Just another one of the just dumping off their superstars to the NL West. Like, now you've got Betts, Bogarts, and Devers, each on the 3 teams battling for first place in the NL West. I thought about that immediately with my brother. We were like, that's crazy. Wild. You got Bogarts in San Diego, Betts in LA, and now Devers in San Francisco. Oh my gosh. Just goes to show, man, there's less and less tolerance for players who are unwilling to move. to different positions, man. I mean, we knew there was tension there because of it. Probably was similar motivation as to why the Yankees just let Glaber walk the way they did. I mean, Stroman's another one where tensions are high, even more so after refusing any potential role outside of starting pitching back in spring training, alongside his injuries and the fact that he, sucks. But you get what I mean. And now, Devers, too, after everything that happened between him and the Red Sox, just dumped to San Francisco. It's bonkers. I'm just thrilled he won't be around anymore to take regular dumps on the Yankees. That's the main part. He was made for the Red Sox, man. Notorious Yankee killer. That's why even now, weeks later, it is just surreal. I mean, Garrett Cole must have thrown a block party after this for when he returns. Just, wow. I can't believe they actually did this again with another one of their huge superstars. And just out of nowhere, after he had far improved over the way he started this year, too, in the first few weeks. I mean, fascinating. I couldn't wait to talk about that last week, and that was one of the major things I was bummed about having to put off to this week, and I almost forgot about it as I was just ending the episode today. Devers going to San Fran. If that's not holy crap, I don't know what is.
Holy crap!
Thank you, Frank Barone. All right, guys, if you do not already, as always, be sure to follow me on all social medias. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. My Instagram is Mike Scuds97. Please be sure to subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on as well, my good people. That is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening to show the love, and spread the word about the show as you always do such a great job at doing, my friends. And if you've missed any of the past Yapping Yankees episodes, I mean, with the vast inconsistency and long gaps in between episodes this season, I have surely given you enough time to catch up on anything you were behind on. But even if you still have missed something or you just feel like being nostalgic and listening to past episodes, do not fret. You can do that. Episode 1, all the way up to 257 today, the entire 6-year history, 6+ year history of Yapping Yankees. You can listen to any episode you want out of all of those from the very beginning to now on Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're more of a YouTube listener, just be aware I didn't start uploading Yapping Yankees episodes to there up until episode 34. So 33 and back, you'd have to go to the other 3 platforms to listen to. But if you're a YouTube person, you don't mind that. Episodes 34 all the way up to 257 today. Those can all be found on YouTube, guys. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again on Sunday, what will probably once again be July 13th. That's the day I'm eyeing, I think, when I come at you with episode 258 of Yapping Yankees. And stay tuned to social media for in real-time updates. I cannot stress that enough, especially with things as chaotic as they are these days. But until then, guys, as always, like I usually always say, hang in there, be patient, please stay safe, look out for your loved ones, go ahead and kick life's ass this week, as I always tell you to do. And again, guys, thank you so much for being patient with me. Let's try to exercise that patience with the Yankees, too, because they're so friggin' up and down and bipolar every single day. Hopefully they do well against the Blue Jays and Mets. The Mets are in free fall. The Blue Jays have been pretty competitive, so hopefully they could at least split there, if I had to say. Take the series in Citi Field if the Mets continue to play the way they are with their no pitching at all and their bats vanishing as well. And they got the Mariners, who could be a bit of a tough task after that, and then the Cubbies, who are really good. So, good ending leading up to the All-Star break against a couple of good teams, especially the Cubbies. But this week, at least coming up, hopefully they take care of business very well. Let's just try to be patient regardless of how mental they drive us, guys. We'll see what happens. What else can I tell you? Until we yap again, my friends, take care, and let's go Yanks.